In early August, violence exploded in western Mexico. Roads were blocked, cartel gunmen cruised the streets at will, and in the city of Guanajuato, 25 outlets of a popular convenience store were burned to the ground. This was not a random eruption of violence or rival crime groups fighting over turf. This was a coordinated operation by the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, or CJNG, specifically designed to disrupt an attempt by the Mexican military to arrest two of its bosses. And it worked. The two bosses, known as RR and El Apa, both got away. The Jalisco New Generation Cartel have become known as Mexico's most violent and dangerous drug empire, and the most serious challenger to the mighty Sinaloa cartel. But how have they achieved this? How have they risen from nothing to command a paramilitary-style narco army? And amid rumours that their leader is actually dead, could they be about to disintegrate into chaos? Like many modern cartels, the CJNG got their start with the destruction of another older cartel. The Milenio cartel was founded back in the 1970s by the Valencia crime family in Michoacan. By the early 2000s, they'd grown to become major allies of the Sinaloa cartel, particularly notorious for their role in the crystal meth trade.
The Milenio cartel used to be one of the most financially powerful cartels in Mexico.
But in 2009, the leader of the Milenio cartel was captured. And in 2010, the local Sinaloa boss was killed by Mexican special forces. This led to a splintering of the Milenio cartel into rival factions.
The Milenio cartel splintered over, and one of those splinters was Cartel Jalisco Nueva Generación, the CJNG.
Las casas pues ya no son las mismas, todas están balaceadas. Antes aquí es donde estaban los Jaliscos. Esto era la barricada de ellos, todo esto. Pero quizás aquí tenían unos 20 pistoleros. A lo mejor 2 aquí, 2 allá, pero se tienen que estar rolando, ¿verdad?
This is where Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, or El Mencho, comes onto the scene. El Mencho had been working in the narco trade since he was a teenager, crossing back and forth between Mexico and the US. He married into the Valencia family, creating an alliance that would eventually grow into what became the Jalisco New Generation Cartel.
The economical power behind the Cartel Jalisco. They literally started with avocados, so they were farmers. They literally started moving from avocados to chemical precursors to make drugs like methamphetamine. It's like, okay, so what the US market like? They like their avocados from Mexico and their meth from Mexico.
Since they formed, the CJNG's calling card has very simply been to make themselves the most brutal and violent cartel around. They dress in army-style uniforms and make a great show of using heavy military-grade weaponry.
And in July, footage would emerge of that CGNG convoy. These gunmen call themselves the Elite Group and pledge allegiance to El Mencho. They're armed with assault rifles with grenade launchers attached to the barrel, heavy machine guns, and also this gun. This is a .50 caliber sniper rifle. It's a powerful weapon that the CGNG loves to show off.
Where organizations like the Sinaloa cartel will often lead towards bribing police and politicians, the CJNG tend to rely more on intimidation and the threat of extreme paramilitary violence.
They have a very intelligent strategy, which is basically branding themselves and looking like paramilitary power. They do have their full letters, right? The CJNG on their vests. They dressed as properly military. They also have these high caliber guns. They have what they call those monstruos, which are really basically like man-made tanks, you know? So their firepower is incredible.
The CJNG learned many of their methods from an earlier hyper-violent cartel, Los Zetas, who they originally fought a major war against.
Even with help from the military, making El Aguaje livable again won't be easy. This is the Jalisco cartel commander in the area, fighting from his armored truck.
Simplemente soy un comandante aquí en la región de Michoacán, comandante aquí del cartel Jalisco Nueva Generación. A mí no puede haber alguien que diga secuestramos, robamos o extorsionamos. Nosotros no nos dedicamos a eso. Nosotros nos dedicamos, somos narcotraficantes. Nosotros producimos, exportamos y vendemos droga. Eso es de lo que El papá de nosotros hace el dinero. Esa es la empresa de nosotros.
Despite what cartel propaganda may claim, their links to extortion and brutal violence against civilians is well documented.
Yo sé quién es mi patrón, señor Don Mencho, una persona muy honorable y las personas que lo conocen saben la calidad de persona que es. Si yo no pensara de la forma que yo pienso, yo no perteneciera o no fuera parte de este cartel.
But what sets the CJNG apart from all other rivals, even the Zetas and the Sinaloa cartel, is their willingness to directly confront and attack the Mexican military itself.
The latest cartel target, Mexico's military. The Jalisco New Generation Cartel took the fight to the next level, shooting down a military helicopter with a rocket-propelled grenade.
In May of 2015, the CJNG used RPGs to shoot down a military helicopter thought to be tracking El Mencho. They've undertaken organized assassination campaigns against officers of Mexico's elite police units and used armored cars to attack the convoy of the president of Guatemala.
So far, we can say that Jalisco New Generation is enemy number one of President Enrique Peña Nieto's government.
Meanwhile, the CJNG have also pioneered the use of weaponized drones to attack both the security services and rival cartels.
¿Un dron o qué?
Ese mero.
¿Dónde está el dron?
Está volando derecho arriba.
Hay un dron.
Cartel Jalisco, they are very well consolidated as one group. And so that means that they can really put up really organized attacks against the Mexican government. And all that violence is only to have leverage in the negotiations with the government, with politicians, right? They create this chaos to go and sit with the local politicians and say like, okay, do you want more or shall we negotiate this stuff?
The CJNG are now recognized as such a threat to US national security that there have even been moves to officially designate them a terrorist organization. This is partly down to the fact that they've been pumping fentanyl into North America and fueling the region's opioid crisis. The CJNG is now the Sinaloa cartel's only major rival in the amount of fentanyl being manufactured and smuggled into the US.
The DEA says his cartel, called Cartel Jalisco, or CJNG, is responsible for roughly a third of the drugs entering this country by land and by sea.
They own the two main ports where precursors are coming in from China. It was my understanding that there was people from China and from Colombia that were called upon the Cartel Jalisco to come to Mexico to teach their cooks how to make methamphetamine and fentanyl with those precursors.
But around 2019, something crucial changed for the CJNG. El Mencho disappeared. He'd always been a reclusive leader, never attracting the publicity of characters like El Chapo. But reports and rumors began circulating that he was completely removed from the day-to-day command of the cartel. And perhaps that he was actually dead.
So with all the rumors around El Mencho being dead or very ill or out of the cartel, that started, I guess they started like around 2020 when we started reading about El Mencho being out of the Cartel Jalisco. I reached out to two middle range commanders inside the Cartel Jalisco Nueva Generación. One of them believed that he was just literally just out of the cartel. He's well, he's alive. He's just like stepped up or stepped out of the cartel. And the other guy believes that El Mencho is actually pretty ill or might even be dead.
Without a body to show, the DEA are still offering $10 million in reward money for evidence leading to El Mencho's capture. But in the absence of clear command, factions within the CJNG are beginning to assert their own independence, causing increased violence.
Tomito, el dron, güey. Tráeme el dron. El dron. Tráeme el dron, güey. Las pilas.
Le dieron los putazos.
This is a transformational moment for the Jalisco New Generation Cartel. They may be able to hold together and continue their brutal reign at the top. Or they may dissolve into infighting, as many other cartels who expanded too fast for their own good have done before. For the Mexican civilians caught in the middle, it would be hard to say which would be worse. And whatever happens, as long as there is a multi-billion-dollar market for illegal drugs, there will be violent, organized crime groups ready to fight for their share.
We'd like to congratulate drugs for winning the war on drugs.